Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Reverend Dr. D, and we have got a very interesting program, a returning guest to our program. It's been a while since we've had Maria Martinez here on the program to join us. She sort of, kind of, in a way, I guess you could say, has a moniker of sorts called Your Instant Avatar. And Maria, thank you so much for being here. I'll have you explain that later.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's nice to get back together again. You've got you're doing a lot of work in the areas that my previous guests here have been talking about. We're going to talk about your healing journey as well as some very interesting topics. Oh, I don't know, like happiness, abundance, prosperity, wealth, energy, love, health, and vitality. I'm going to start with happiness. Now, the reason is twofold. Number one, of course, we just celebrated, the 250th birthday of this nation, supposedly on the 4th of July. Although there are those who would sit there and go, well, no, it really wasn't the 4th of July because they didn't sign it and do this and do that. And I've asked people, so what is the defining moment? I'm not asking you that. But in the documents, they talk about our inalienable rights. Now, they only list three. Because they said, and among these inalienable rights, easy for them to write, me to say, are life, liberty, and then I'm wondering, did they know something when they just put in, instead of giving us happiness, they said, and the pursuit of happiness?
Yeah, that's a good question, and when we look at the pursuit, it implies the trying, right? The trying, the getting, the working toward, and there is something about that, but I believe we've moved beyond that to it's a choice. Happiness is a choice. That was an old way of thinking or program of there's work involved. We have to effort. We have to be a certain way, or we have to be a certain person. Mm-hmm. Now it's a choice. We get to choose happiness because now happiness depends on ourselves, not what others say or what we should have. When we begin with happiness is a choice and I choose happiness now, then the world starts looking different. Because we come from a place, now we're moving into abundance and we're moving into gratitude, we're moving into joy, we're moving into fulfillment. Instead of always trying to get there, we begin with we are already there. So we begin to embody the happiness in the now moment versus when I achieve this, or when I get to that timeline, or when I have the success, or when I have the relationship, or when I have the family, or when so it's no longer based on conditions or milestones or goals. It's a choice. So that's, when I think about that, that's what they got right in terms of that is our divine right, and it's our God-given right to have and to choose it.
And it's interesting, somebody said in one of these little shorts that I was watching that if you plan a trip, let's just say to Disneyland, since we both live here in Central Southern California, and you wait until you've parked the car in the Disney parking lot, taken the tram to the entrance, get your tickets, go in, and you wait until you're inside the park in line to ride, I don't know, the Matterhorn. And you decide, I'm going to be happy now. You've missed it. You need to start feeling that happiness while you are planning the trip. Because that's part of the old phrase that is quite often used. It's not the destination, but it's the journey. And being happy in the journey is part of the happiness overall. Is that a fair assessment, do you think?
Yeah, if we think about journey, life is the journey. So happiness begins with you and the choice that you make every single day, and it's really from the moment you wake up. From the moment that you're conscious and you start making choices and decisions about your day and what that day is going to look like, because every choice, every decision creates your reality. So the reality that we want to create, that is ideal, is happiness, is one where we have it all, or one where we're in charge, one where we're not waiting either for something to happen or someone to give us something or do something for us.
Well, it is a choice. It's part of what my book, Choices, is all about. Choices, 5 steps for life. And the first step is make a choice.
Mhm.
You want to be happy? Wouldn't be happy. And it's not based upon our circumstances. It's not based upon where we live. Although I'm pretty happy where I'm living now because I haven't owned a house in 20 years. And
Mhm.
now I own a house. I'm not renting anymore. And of course, everybody's going, hey, fantastic. Now all that money's yours, that you're putting into your house, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, the the journey, I think, for example, I'm excited about in about 4 hours from our conversation here, my wife and I are going to take a drive because I will have been in my studio since 8:30 in the morning, and I will not be leaving the studio until probably 3:30 in the afternoon. Now, between interviews, of which there are 4 today, I do get up, I go upstairs, get a little sunlight coming in through the windows, I heat up my coffee, and then I come back downstairs into the pit. I don't think I'll call it that though, because I have the window blacked out in the room so that I don't get glare coming in, while I'm doing these interviews. Um, so I just find that interesting. And then there's the other side of the coin too, isn't there? Where there's something going on, we don't have any control over it. Let's just maybe use one that comes to mind. Filing our taxes by the 15th of April every year, and waiting for the refund or waiting for the letter saying, hey, you owe us X number of dollars and so forth. Well, we're sitting there waiting and we're already ruminating about it. And that's
Mhm.
that's kind of the same kind of thing. It's like I'm already feeling anxious and fearful and this and that and the other about something that hasn't happened yet. And a good friend of mine, Dennis Henson, who also I do a program with here on Tell Me Your Story, he says, what's the point of worrying in this instance, for example?
Mhm.
Because if it turns out the way you think and or fear it turning out, your worrying didn't change anything. And if it doesn't turn out that way, then you wasted your time worrying. Um, but yet we use that technique that we described regarding happiness and going to Disneyland when we're not when things aren't going the way we would like them to, especially those things that we don't have control over, right?
Right. So the question is that a question for me?
Yeah, we're just conversation here in terms of the fact is that we already do that with a lot of the what we call negative emotions. We
Right.
start feeling them long before something happens.
Yes.
And yet, when we want to go, like I said, using the example going to Disneyland, we wait until we're in the park in line getting to go on a ride before we start feeling the excitement and the exuberance.
Yeah, I like to think about it as we create our reality, right? When we're feeling something, we're creating. You know, we are embodying and we're putting something out into the field. So we're
Hmm.
beginning to create that reality. So in the examples that you gave, one was the worried and the other one was the waiting. So we want to think about mastery, and we do actually have control of the reality that we're creating, regardless of who's creating, who is involved in that reality. Even thinking about the IRS or any other agency that operates outside us, what we project into the field adds to the results. So if we add worry, then that may create a result that is not ideal. If we add uncertainty, if we add fear, that will project into the field because we are creating that reality, we're co creating. So we really want to be conscious of that because we want to stay and we want to embody and we want to um, be the master of our destiny. So as we move into that identity of the master of our destiny, we want to realize or we want to take charge of the life that we want to live. In the life that we want to live in joy, and if we want to live in happiness, and we want to live in fulfillment, that's what we want to project into the field: certainty, joy, trust. trust that we are enough, and trust that the universe is aligned with us, trust that the universe is supporting us. Yes, we definitely want to make decisions because that's how we take action, and we want to create the movement. The universe responds when we take action or make a choice. When we say yes, and we say, when we say yes, I agree to that, or yes, by taking that action, the universe will respond and begin to allow and orchestrate for us. So we want to move into that awareness and that knowing that we are creating a reality. Whether we choose or don't choose, whether we take action or don't take action, we are creating that reality. So if we know that we're creating it, let's be more intentional, right? Because the worry is going to create more worry. The fear is going to create things not working out for us, maybe even some self-sabotage, or maybe the results are going to be less because we added fear to that. So if we know that we're creating it, let's elevate to creating from certainty, from trust, from the universe is on my side, from the highest and biggest possibility that we can imagine.
It's an interesting, I'm going to say, paradox of sorts, because there are those who believe that unless they worry about something, they don't care enough. Let's
Interesting.
use a personal a person in our lives, our spouse or children or what have you. If we don't show somebody that we're fretting about to have the flu, oh, it's so sad, I got to do something to fix it. Guys are probably more into the fixing part. Uh, it's like if we don't show that kind of action, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
then people look at us, or we perceive them seeing us as not caring.
Well, that's a belief system.
Yeah.
So, it comes down to what belief system do you want to embody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to believe, worrying, not trusting? Well, worrying is not trusting. Fear is not trusting. Needing to control is not trusting. So you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting the universe. You're not trusting the higher power to help support or bring more of the things that you want. When we worry, we're also, and especially if we're worried about somebody not succeeding or not making the right choices, we're looking at that individual as not enough, because we're not trusting that they're going to make the right choices. We're not trusting that they're going to tap into their potential. We're not trusting that they're going to find within themselves the solution and the answer. So we're also projecting that into the field. Even though we don't speak about in a regular conversation about energy, that whoever we're projecting that energy, they feel it. They feel, they don't trust me, or if they don't trust me, then maybe I'm not enough, or maybe. So we project more of what they're feeling. So we want to be conscious of that. We want to be conscious of how we're projecting our belief system in our own story and our own fears into others, and into the collective as well, into mass consciousness. We want to really get out of our own way and allow everybody else to be their highest potential.
It's interesting too the way you put that, because from my perspective, in terms of giving people choices and knowledge of those choices, their choosing to or not to is their choice. I mean, yeah, I want what's best for everybody, but everybody's best is different.
Absolutely.
And so I have to let them. It goes to the very first line in my book, in the introduction, just below my wife's picture. Do you want to live or do you want to die? I may not like your choice, but I will support you in it. Thankfully, she chose to live, and she's doing great today. That was 25 years ago. Is that also part of the problem that we have, is that we're not willing to allow people to make a choice that it's theirs to make, not ours. We don't have any control over their lives, and that we would do better for ourselves if we just let them do their thing. And all right, if you can't stand the choice they make, you got to be honest with them and say, look, I can't be here while you carry out this choice, whatever it is. Okay.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to stop you. Whereas I was watching a program just the other day where this one gal, I think she was diagnosed with a form of cancer, and she didn't want to do anything about it. She says, "No, I've seen what people go through, whether it's based on fear or whatever, and I don't want to do that. I want to
Hmm.
live the quality of life I have right now as long as I can, and then go." And to me,
Hmm.
that takes as much courage
Hmm.
as choosing to go through every possible option you can think of to extend your life and hopefully add quality to that extension.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's a balance there. And especially if your role is to be a way shower
Hmm.
or to facilitate or to hold space for others or to be a light worker. We want to hold that space of infinite possibility for others to step into it and see it for themselves. But we want to be careful to project our belief systems or story or what we want or what we need from others because we want to allow them to have free will. But we also want to show them what else is available to them and what other choices they can make, and then they make the choice. So there's different scenarios, where we're just showing, and there's other scenarios we're actually holding accountable. You know, for for our children, we want to hold them accountable. We want to show them infinite possibilities, and we want to see them as their highest potential. We want to do that for everybody, but we have
Hmm.
different relationships around us. For some of them, we show them and we hold them accountable to make the highest decision choice for themselves. But they're making that choice. We're not making it for them. And for others, we're really showing and showing and showing what else is possible. But when we start within ourselves to model that, and then when we see everybody as their highest potential, and when we hold the highest level of consciousness and we hold the highest level of frequency, the conversations that we have with others, they're much more open and there's much more awareness because we are stepping into that frequency and the higher level of consciousness. So it's easier for them to see the higher possibility and it's easier for them to step out of that. Now, the other thing to consider is that many times the choices people make can come from something else. It could come from an interference, an entity, or an attachment. So they may not be making the choice themselves, or it may not be fully their choice, especially if there's harm involved.
Hmm. We're talking with Maria Martinez, and you have a website called 360 Prosperity. That's 360prosperity.com. And I like that full circle, especially the analogy that I use when it comes to perception. We ask people to step on the points on the circle, looking inward at the circumstance or the event, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and move around the circle as far around as you can to get as many different perspectives as is possible. I want to talk a little bit about that as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We are talking with Maria Martinez, and I want to ask you about your website, of course, 360prosperity.com, and my analogy using the circle and the points on the circle as different points of view or different perspectives. Is that something that helps in the process of um, working on these different elements I mentioned earlier of happiness, abundance, prosperity, wealth, energy, love, health, and vitality, among other things? Is that kind of where we're sort of starting from? That we need to broaden our perspective. We need, if we're going to have those kinds of things in our lives, we need to shift our perspective because our current perspective is not helping us to achieve, let's just say, to find happiness in our lives.
Yeah, so the name 360 Prosperity came from the idea of having it all. Having it all means you're not sacrificing any aspect of your life or any part of your life, any area of your life. You're not sacrificing relationship for success. You're not sacrificing your health for success or achievement. You're not sacrificing who you are in order to be in the world and to express yourself. So 360 Prosperity comes from the idea that we're elevating every aspect of your life. So kind of what you describe as the circle or the wheel. we're elevating every aspect of your life to the highest possibility, and then we elevate, and that's a continuous process, because as you elevate yourself and you move into alignment, then every other part of your life begins to work. And to the question about perspective, well, we're multidimensional beings. So the mind or the mental body is one. Then we have the emotional body, we have the physical body, we have the energetic soul and spirit. So it's elevating also from that aspect as a multidimensional being, who you are. So we're clearing, we're elevating, we're upgrading, and we're expanding and amplifying who you are, moving into higher levels of frequency and into new timelines. Perspective is one of them, and I'd like to call it more like mastery. The mastery of who you are, because when you recognize I am a powerful creator, then you recognize yourself as a multidimensional being that is creating from all these different aspects of you, from energy, from vibration, from your thought forms, from your story, from your actions, and also from how you see yourself or perceive health, and how you choose and embody your own health and bring yourself online. And as we move forward into the idea of prosperity or 360 prosperity, what's happening is that you're leaving different parts of you behind, or completing different parts of you behind, and you're elevating them into infinite possibility, or higher levels of possibility, or higher level timelines where all of this already exists for you. And especially when it comes to the hardworking, efforting, the pain, the suffering, the poverty consciousness, into a victim, or ego, or inner child trauma. We elevate all those aspects of you into the idea of, again, everything is available to me. I am good enough. And as source creation, whatever I choose becomes my reality. Whatever I desire is already available to me. And we keep calibrating to that next level reality, to allow all of that to come into form, to manifest around you. So again, you're elevating and upgrading your mental perspective, so your mindset, your level of consciousness, your level of awareness, your level of awakening. Because many times when people come online, their gifts become available to them. Their higher level wisdom, and their clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, claircognizant. Other times is their peak performance comes online, or all of the above. And again, their magnetism for money, wealth, prosperity also activates, comes online, and their ability to heal themselves or release the trauma or the density in the body comes online. So we want to bring every aspect of you online, and that's the idea of 360 prosperity. And we can all have that. That's all available to all of us.
And I think the other thing too to keep in mind when you talk about 360 prosperity is the fact that that represents having it all.
Yes.
Having it all for you is different than having it all for me. No two people want, if you will, all the same things.
Absolutely.
And so when we
Yes.
start hearing these stories of lack of this, there's not enough of this, there's not enough of that, that is, I don't know where those stories come from, other than people who are wanting, maybe it has to do with power and control as opposed to the truth. And it's like there has always been and always will be exactly the same amount of oxygen, exactly the same amount of water, exactly the same amount. Well, land is a little different because you have earthquakes, you might have maybe the rising of the waters, but then you have volcanoes that then create more land on islands and so forth. We just watched one of these volcano shows about what if all of the volcanoes erupted all at the same time. I'm thinking, oh, by the way, they call that V-Day, and which I'm going, I don't think that's going to happen. Why are you scaring us? But there's more than enough to go around for everybody,
Absolutely.
even though I don't know what the number is that they say the planet is sustainable with. But we have 8.5 billion people on the planet right now. And, I mean, it's not horrible. It's not great for everybody. I get that. And it kind of goes back to that concept of best. Well, what is best for you? It's going to be
Yeah.
different for me.
Absolutely. We all have our idea of what wealth, what abundance, what prosperity is. For us, And that's why it's important for us to define that. Because if we're not defining, then we're not claiming it. We're not asking. We're not inviting the universe to support us or to work with us. You know, you talked about where these other lack, scarcity, poverty consciousness came from. Well, those are all programmed from domination, suppression, control, other interferences, the wealthy that wanted to, you know, the times of enslavement. All of that was programmed, and then it was carried through the many generations. So a lot of the clearing and healing of the ancestral lineage, the bloodline, even now recognizing how lack and scarcity comes in, or fear comes in the media, we want to be aware of that, because when we accept that as the truth, then we're allowing that to be our story. We want to see, hear, perceive, know what is being projected, and then decide what we're willing to accept and not accept, how we want to live our life. But there is enough for all of us, and all of us have a divine fortune. We have a soul wealth that is available to us.
You know,
Choosing
it's funny too. I
abundance,
mean,
prosperity will allow that to open.
yeah. What's really funny is when I start hearing, you know, because you mentioned the disparaging aspects of our humanity, and I hear what came into my head was reparations, and I'm sitting here going, let's see, down through the history of man, every single race of man has been oppressed. So that means basically what we're going to do is we're going to create the equivalent of a Congo line, and we're just going to start handing money from me to you, and then you to me, and the person behind me is going to hand it to me, and we're just going to keep handing the money out to every single race on the planet, because nobody has been guiltless, or I shouldn't say that. Nobody on the planet has not been oppressed at one time or another down through the history of man. Man's inhumanity to man, it's been going on since Cain and Abel. Okay? So let's let that go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's change the programming, right? That's what you're talking about,
Absolutely.
if you will. See, they say that if you take a hard drive in a computer and you format it, all right, the data that was on it, it's still there. Buried, it's still there. And really, the only way that you can get rid of it, unfortunately, it is a destructive form, is to take a magnet and run it over the hard drive. That's the only way you get rid of everything on it. Unfortunately, I think it also creates havoc with the electronics. And of course, the hard drive is no longer usable anymore. So we need to figure out, how do we prevent those old programs that we are going to be overwriting, if that's the correct terminology, with the new programs? How do we prevent them from coming back up again and trying to write over the new stuff that we want to have in terms of prosperity and abundance, etc.?
Yeah. So the first thing is to recognize those programs within ourselves. We want to recognize that we're running those programs. The second choice that we're making is to not be a victim to that, and not be in that victim cycle. What you just described, you know, this is cycle of giving and everybody's to blame. So we want to move out of the blame, the fault, the guilt, any of that, and we want to move into radical responsibility. Radical responsibility is, in spite of everything or anything, whatever's happening now, whatever's happened in the past, you are rewriting your story. You're taking responsibility for the life that you're creating. You're no longer allowing others to create for you. You're no longer allowing others to design your life. You are now choosing the life that you're going to create for yourself, the life that you're going to live. And that begins with, I am abundant. And as you choose I am abundant and take steps toward living that abundant life, one, again, recognizing as these patterns come in throughout the decisions, throughout the events, throughout the day, and deleting and creating. Again, healing the ancestral, and healing the lineage, and healing the karma, and healing and releasing all these programs. And again, every day making the choice, and then developing a new relationship with money, wealth, prosperity, abundance, and a new relationship with yourself. All of that is going to reset your money situation. So your value, your self-worth, your deservingness, your ability to receive, your ability to give to yourself, your ability to accept more, your ability to choose more, claim more, Your ability to love yourself is going to amplify all of that. So you want to recreate the foundation from which you've been creating. You want to recreate the foundation from which life has been happening with you, for you, or alongside you, and create the foundation so you're actively driving. You're the director, the author of your life.
My book choice is Five Steps for Life. When I finally got it published and I reread it and I was talking about it and so forth, what came to me was that somehow, and this was not intentional on my part, I had hit upon a core to our existence, and it's choices. That's what our lives are made up of, a series of choices, almost like either a Rube Goldberg machine or dominoes that you set up and then you knock the first one and bop, 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 down it goes. And it seems to me that that's really what you're talking about in terms of reprogramming. Is the first thing you have to do is you have to make the choice to do that, right?
Yeah, so I like to think about it as I mentioned it earlier, recreating your foundation. So
Hmm.
one of them is recognizing your level of awareness about life and the role that you've been playing. Have you been an active participator in life? And then taking radical responsibility. So that would be the first thing. And in that radical responsibility comes being intentional with the choices that you're now making. You made choices that created that life. Now that you know that you're the creator and you're taking radical responsibility, now the choices are more intentional, moving you in the direction that you want to create. That's one. The next step would be recognizing where you're holding those belief systems. So what is the story that you're living? What are the belief systems? What are the limitations that you're creating from? And then begin to delete and recreate them, or choose a higher level of awareness, a higher state of consciousness, um, a different story, and elevating your identity. So now would be a new identity that, who you are now created this. So now we need to elevate to the higher identity that is it's going to create the next level you. And then recognizing where you're holding some of that pain and suffering in the multidimensional body. So you want to clear and reintegrate the multidimensional bodies. So you're releasing all levels of interferences. So that's going to clear the gap from where you are to where you want to be, the next level of identity. And then as you move forward, you want to become the master creator of your life. So it's very similar to the identity, but master creator involves the pillars. That's, I believe in myself, I trust myself, I accept myself, I forgive myself, I am good enough, I am worthy, I am deserving, I have the ability to receive, I am powerful beyond measure. So you begin to embody these other qualities of creation within you, so that you can embody the power of creation. So as you make choices, the energy is clear and clean, because you're not running the lower emotions of shame, blame, guilt, fault, and you're not waiting for anybody to give you permission to be who you want to be or who you were created to be. You're not waiting for someone else to give you permission to choose the value or to determine your value. You're choosing it yourself. Now we're back at radical responsibility and making those powerful choices.
Mm.
And as you keep moving through that phase of recreating that powerful foundation, then you're becoming more aware of the state of being. That we're talking about the level of consciousness and the frequency that you're holding. And we also want to recognize again that we live in an infinite possibility. So whatever choice you make today is going to take you down a path. Whatever higher choice you make, again, that's going to take you in a different path. So recognizing and really being fearless about it, recognizing the fear as an opportunity to create more, to elevate more, to bring more, instead of the fear is telling me not to move forward. We want to recognize the fear as an indicator of an old pattern, old cycle, the old you. And if we celebrate the fear and we move through it, earlier you said override, overcome, move through it, then you just created a powerful breakthrough in your life, and you just took a quantum leap. So we want to keep making those quantum leaps, because that's going to create a new you, a new you from a month ago, from a week ago. uh, all those opportunities that come your way are going to be easier for you to embrace. If you look at life as I am the master creator and this is my canvas and I am writing it or I'm designing it or I'm painting it.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Maria Martinez is my guest. 360prosperity.com is the website as we continue. On Tell Me Your Story, Reverend Dr. D, Maria Martinez is our guest, and we're talking about basically, as was stated back when I first found out about and became more interested in metaphysics and the metaphysical community that I was with in Phoenix. They used to use this phrase, create your own reality. Do you know that you create your own reality? Now, a lot of people had a lot of difficulty with that. I fully understand it today. I sort of kind of understood it back then. um, but you inject into it more esoteric or metaphysical aspects that you mentioned just a little while ago. And those are sort of our sixth sense, if you will, aspect of our, I guess you could say, of our soul, of our spirit, that which is immortal, that will live on beyond the physical body because it's energy and you can't destroy energy. You can only transform it. I want to ask you in that regard to this transformational process. It is said from a scientific standpoint that the human body regenerates itself cellularly and completely approximately every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, and I'm not arguing either way, how does what you're talking about in terms of the reprogramming, how does that play into that 7 year transformation, or maybe vice versa? How does the 7 year transformation play into, and how can we use that to do the reprogramming, if you will, the refocusing, the changing of perception and beliefs
Mm-hmm.
to, as I've often said, what Jesus told us we could do, what Yeshua told us we could do, and that is greater works than him. And to me, those greater works are the transforming of our lives. What
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a very powerful question because if we embrace it and utilize it, again, our life or reality could be very different. So we can look at it as a big opportunity to heal ourselves, to be in coherence, to be more in harmony, to be more in equilibrium, to be more balanced in our body, in our mind, to be more grounded, more present in our body, aligning with spirit, soul, and to embody more of our power. So that would be the ideal, right?
Mhm.
Or we do nothing, and yes, our body changes. In 7 years, would be a different person. It's more about a different person than we were before. But if we didn't do anything to heal our emotions, so I'd like to speak about the emotions in terms of the healing of the physical body.
Mhm.
So if we're carrying a lot of trauma, if we're carrying a lot of hatred, if we're carrying a lot of rage, your body is deteriorating. Your body is in pain. Your physical body, the cellular level, there's a lot of stress and oxidation. Uh, you don't have space, a lot of space for the things that you want if you're holding a lot of rage. Imagine being very bitter and everything is wrong with the world and nothing is working for you. So that creates, again, stress, aging. So as your body, cellular, as the cells are turning, you're not really giving them what they need, vibrancy. You're not activating more of the ATP. You're not necessarily bringing in more joy into the body. Um, and if there's stress, if there's emotions, that translates many times into physical symptoms and conditions like cancer, like gut issues, leaky gut, IBS, autoimmune. So we can choose that route. In 7 years, we're going to be worse off because of the things that we're allowing our body to go through, the pain and the suffering. Or we can decide, I choose to heal. I choose to let go of all these lower emotions that I'm holding because the only person they're harming is me. And I choose to live into peace, happiness, and equilibrium and balance. And again, that brings more coherence, that oxygenates the cells, uh, less oxidation, and so less stress in the body at the cellular level. There's more vibrancy. So that's at the physical level. So there's a biochemical experience that is happening when you're holding a lot of density, whether it's mental, emotional, which translates into physical. We know that. We know that stress can cause physical conditions, right? That's mental, becomes emotional, becomes physical. So we know that there is a biochemical reaction that's happening. Now, if we look at the relationship to soul and spirit from the perspective of mental and emotional, if you're running self-hatred, the light of your body is dimming, because the light of the body is love. If you're rejecting yourself, your spirit doesn't want to be in your body, or you're not connected to your body. And if the spirit is not in your body, the vitality is also diminishing, because there's a connection with spirit and soul. So imagine the soul in the body as the light that keeps the home or the house or your temple on. The spirit is the one that goes out and does your mission work. If there's a disconnect, or if there's an emptiness, or if there are other things in your body, lower emotions that are bringing in entities that are amplifying those emotions, then that again is also creating that oxidation at the cell, at the not just the cellular level, but also at the soul level and spirit level. This, when you love yourself, when you accept yourself, when you have joy in your life, you're connected to yourself. The soul, your soul, amplifies. There's a vibrancy, there's a radiance. The cells go into coherence, or there's greater coherence in the cells. So there's more vitality. You have a stronger life force. So you're more immune, or your immunity goes up to spiritual things or spiritual psychic attacks, and to anything that is physical outside you, especially free radicals around or toxins around. So if you are aware of the choices that you can make and how you can change within yourself by balancing and bringing yourself into alignment and integrating your multidimensional bodies and upgrading who you are, you're going to become younger. And I see this all the time with my clients. There's a reversal in the aging process. There's a reversal in cancer. I just had a client that I've been working with for 6 months. She was diagnosed and then was given 6 months. And so 2 days ago, I spoke to her, and she had her MRI, and the areas where they found cancer, it's no longer there. The bone marrow and the liver. Because we're doing a lot of this work, the self-love, self-acceptance. So we're doing the eternal healing, we're doing the spiritual healing, we're doing the emotional healing, we're doing the mental healing. We're healing all across, and then we are reintroducing new powerful programs of I am good enough, I'm the creator, I'm the eternal flame, I am the core star, I am creating my reality, I am in charge, I get to decide. You know, earlier you asked me a question about when somebody says, I'm done, what do we do, right? Well, we show them what is possible, but it's their decision. In this case, she's making the decision of I'm not done yet, right? I want to be here, I'm not done. And when you make that decision, and then you're doing all the things to support that, you're quantum leaping, you're clearing your collapsing timelines, and you're moving into a higher timeline of creation.
It is self-evident in our society here in the United States specifically. We can see it on the streets. We can see it in the news media of the people who are supposedly running things, who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, who, my father, for example, he was running a family, not the country. But he was diagnosed 5 days before he left with early onset dementia and Parkinson's. And I know he's glad that he left, because I don't think he would have put up with that in his body. However, he did live almost to 92 years of age. All right. He did start to develop that question mark look, a little bit. little bit. All right. So whenever I hugged him, I was very gentle. I was very gentle.
Mm-hmm.
But we see it in our society today. And I want to throw one specific item out there for you to help us to understand the connection here with what you've just described. And that is 65 years ago, I think that's about right. The statistic was that 1% of the US population was obese. Today, it's either at or above 50%. Can you give us a correlation? And I realize we're talking about 330 million people. I understand that. But let's break it down to an individual who I used to weigh 200 pounds. I'm only 5'9" and I weighed 200 pounds. Now, the weight was not my issue. Now, it did hurt my knees for a while. It was the number that bothered me more than anything else. I'm not 200 pounds. No, I am not 200 pounds. And then I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and my weight went down into the 170s. I stand corrected, 180s. Then I had my gallbladder removed. And what was fascinating was the bed I was in the hospital was actually a scale too. I was down into the 170s. I am currently in the 150s. Now, I love the fact that I'm there. I'm not worried or concerned. I feel good. I feel excited. My body is 66 years old, but my mind, 17. And my body is constantly reminding my mind, yeah, you go ahead and feel 17. Just don't do anything to your body that your 66-year-old body will not handle. Okay, there are limitations in that regard. But what about the connection between what we're seeing in our society with all of this dis-ease and is there a more spiritual or metaphysical perspective to that as to explain why this is happening? What is it that we are doing to ourselves as a society that we need to turn around?
Yeah. A lot of things have changed from before. One, we weren't as conscious, and there were certain things that we didn't value the way we value them now. The more conscious we are, the more aware, we're more connected we are to our body, and we recognize more what is good for us and what is not good for us. And of course, there's more data around food, environment, and how it affects us. So now people are becoming more aware of either whether I'm healthy or not healthy, and what do these numbers mean, and can I change them? So that's part of it, the awareness, the education that's available to us. But the other one is that there's a higher awakening as well for many people. And as they step into a higher awakening, more people are also moving into the ability to heal what was there, heal themselves, heal the trauma that is there. Because a lot of, let me rephrase that. In some cases, weight is related to trauma that is stored in the body. And so as we become aware of who we are and how it was created, then we find ways of balancing who we are and bringing ourselves to a more ideal version of ourselves. And that in doing so, we're also becoming more connected with who we are, because we're coming from the place of love. You know, we are moving into the awakening, so we're recognizing that of ourselves. And we're also recognizing our mission and purpose. So many of us want to be here for that. We want to be here, and then we want to be here for the family. So we want to be here for the impact that we came here to create. And we want to do it without pain and suffering. We want to let go of the pain and suffering that was the norm at some point. And I feel like that's what's happening, speaking to different people. One of the areas that I work on in are wealth, abundance, prosperity, health, so health as in functional nutrition, in Ayurveda, and also activating who you are as a Christic being to bring you online as the contributor and create the impact and live your mission. So from wherever wherever people find me, we work on everything, meaning all the areas of our life, into the idea or into the mastery of having it all. And when we're working in the mastery of having it all, that means that we're not sacrificing anything, and especially health. So we want to be present, we want to be healthy, we want to be in our body, we want to have mastery of our body. And we also want to clear the generational stuff that was there, the what we inherited from others, or what others said we were going to go through or we had to experience. We're choosing now more what that experience is going to be by clearing the DNA, clearing genetics, clearing at the cellular level, clearing the emotional level, mental level, clearing the physical level. So a lot of that has, has impacted what we're seeing now, and again, the choices that people are making and moving into creation, and also doing their own research on what's available to them and what's going to help them create and live the life that they desire.
This is fascinating stuff, and I'm hoping that people understand that you have a website where people can get more information, maybe get in contact with you as well to follow up with you. Maybe that you have something that you might be able to support them with and in terms of maybe a change, helping to change their mindset. 360prosperity.com is the website. Maria Martinez is my guest here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Maria Martinez here on the program, 360prosperity.com. And the conversation we're having here is, to me, it's so important. It's, I mentioned earlier that, we just celebrated 250 years of existence as a country. There's still debate over which date that was. I mean, I came into this world on June 26th in 1960 at about 3:17 a.m. Not sure we can be quite that precise with the birth of the country, but we chose one and we're sticking with it. Okay, 4th of July. And I often look back and I ask the question of some of my guests about their perceptions of the health and well-being of us, as looking at our country as a human being, as a person, if you will, but not so much the physical aspect as much as what is your thought, your feeling about the soul of our country. And we can keep government and politics out of it. I'm talking about the 330 million people that make up this country, as opposed to, I want to say it's 5 million roughly who make up, say, the country of Ireland, or any other country that's out there. At the same time, recognizing that no countries are islands unto themselves, that we all, just like you and I, we affect one another because we're connected. All the countries are connected too. Can you see into that area at all in terms of your perceptions? Are we anemic? Are we, if we were to use the medical terminology, are we in need of a transplant, or are we really not doing as bad as a lot of people would tell us we are doing? We're actually doing quite well. We just need to stay focused.
Yeah, and this is a question that comes up a lot in these interviews, because we want to know what is next for us, right? So when I look at the collective, we're talking about the soul collective, there's a lot of opportunity that's available to us, and many of us see that opportunity, and I see a greater level of awakening, and people stepping into their awakening, and higher levels of consciousness. So again, better decisions that are made, that are more aligned with what they want and what they desire and the highest good. And again, leaving everything outside that's happening, but that's created more awareness for many people to, again, reflect on the choices and how those choices and their participation impact the greater good, and then move from there. So when I look at the trajectory of where humanity in the United States is going, it's moving, it's ascending. We are ascending, and sometimes we go, we accelerate a little bit, and sometimes we slow down, but the ascension is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We are ascending and we are expanding and we're coming into our awareness, and that is helping us heal, because as a collective, as we heal, the ones that are very awake and fully participating, we affect 40,000 people. So as we affect 40,000 people, we awaken more. We are bringing more into that, the light of creation. We're bringing more into that space that it's again holding, facilitating the awakening for others, and then they do the same for others. So I see this as a big opportunity for everyone to, first of all, reflect on, what do I truly want? What truly makes me happy? And what is this choice in the highest good of all? And then moving in that direction. When I look at, is there a need, I don't see as there's a need. I see it more as an opportunity. So the opportunity again is a conversation that we've been having, moving into radical responsibility, moving away from I am the victim of this, or I'm the victim of life, or I'm the victim of the circumstances, or I'm the victim of what's happening. So moving away from that and moving into, every choice I make is my choice. And whatever that choice is, I'm going to take full responsibility for it. And when we do that, we're actually letting go of a lot of the trauma that we held in our lives. And we're moving into higher levels of power. And by doing that, we're also contributing to the greater good, because we're becoming more self-sufficient. We're tapping into the greater levels of joy, abundance, prosperity, success, without the competition, without the comparison. We're moving into the space of everyone. There's enough for everyone, and we're going to be here. We're here to facilitate for others, or we're here to guide, to aid, or to support, or to be of service to others. So that's what I see happening in humanity, in this awakening that is happening, in this sort of shaking up that is happening. And again, I see that as a huge opportunity for us to up level and upgrade and create more and contribute at a higher, deeper level as a collective.
Well, I tell you, one of the things that has sort of struck me in the conversations I've had over the years, especially talking about trauma, and one of my guests said that the event, whatever it is not the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
The trauma is what we create within ourselves. You and I can look at the same event, and we could put whatever event we want in there. And you could turn into a puddle over in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Because somehow, for whatever reason, because of all of the things that have happened in your life, you are adversely affected. I look at it going, no big deal. So when we are in the process of working through these kinds of things, and I have to tell you that's good news. I wasn't actually looking for a forecast for the future, but it's nice to hear that we are ascending. It's like the stock market. People get all worried when it drops and so forth. It's like, okay, would you please take a look from the day that the stock market was created 100+ years ago to today? Which direction has it gone? Up, up. Okay, so calm down. It'll go up again in this short-term period. Plus the fact that you can't take it with you anyway. So what are you worried about? But when it comes to these traumatic or these events that generate the trauma, do we want to spend or wait? I don't know if it's waste time or not. Going back in our minds to those events and then sort of rewriting our script and or perception of those events. Is that part of the process, or is it simpler than that?
That is part of the process. That is one part of the process. So events are just events, right? A lot of the story comes from our upbringing, what we've learned, what we've accepted, our paradigm. So if you and I are in participating in an event, you may have a completely different experience. So that experience is based on our inner knowledge, inner knowing, inner awareness. And what we want to look at is from where we're creating that story. So are we creating that story from I'm not enough, I'm unworthy, I'm undeserving, I don't belong, or I am afraid? Because that's what creates the drama and the trauma related to that event. And the healing is looking at that, looking at from where am I creating this? Am I creating this from I'm a victim to the situation or I'm not enough? Because we can go back and reset that experience. So we want to look at everything as an event, and we want to look at as we want to go back to what we were describing as radical responsibility, and from that radical responsibility, what is the choice that I'm making?
Yeah.
So radical responsibility is there is no blame, there is no fault. It's just this is the information that I have in front of me. Now what is the best step forward?
Yeah.
And the best step forward is not from the lower emotions, but when they come up, we want to heal them. We want to release them because they're old programs, they're old belief systems, they're limitations that are not really ours. They were projected, they were handed to us, they were embedded into our field. And that is where the mastery comes in, where who do I want to become? Who am I now being? What life do I want to live? Somebody else's life, or do I want to live my life?
Mm. It is just extraordinary the conversation we're having here, and I'm blown away. One of the thoughts that just came to me was, because I don't know if you come from this particular line of teaching or not, taking radical responsibility is taking responsibility from my perspective, to start with, for choosing to come into this world at this time. I made the frickin' choice. I signed the contract, not in concrete because I can rewrite it and so forth. That's the beautiful thing about it. But I made the choice to come here now. So who's the victim here? There isn't
There are
one.
no victims.
When I was working for this Christian station back in the 80s and early 90s, responsibility might as well have been a four-letter word. Because when good things happened, oh, it was God. When bad things happened, oh, it was the devil. It's like, took me 5 years to work through that whole scenario, plus heaven and hell, and so forth. And it's like, I'm going to say that life is actually easier when I take responsibility, because at least I know who to look at. All I do is I go over to the mirror and I look in the mirror and say, "Hi, what did you just do?"
Mm-hmm.
And believe that is easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's a phrase that was used in a personal growth program I went through where people say, well, I'm confused. I am so confused," and they would respond with, "Well, being in the state of confusion, that's a safe place to be, but it doesn't wash here in this program that we were in,
Yeah, it's just an excuse.
It's just an excuse. Exactly. Now, the other element too is the stories that we tell ourselves and other people too. I was on the phone with my mother telling her a story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did that, but maybe it was because of the response that I got. And she says, "Hold it, stop. I don't want to hear it. You want to call and we can chat and you can get inspiration or encouragement or some education or whatever. Fine, but I don't want to hear the stories." And that's where and I get off the phone with her. And first instantaneous thought was, "Mom," and then it hit me. She's right. She's absolutely right. So we're hoping that we can stop telling the stories to ourselves and to other people. All right. And start to create new ones, write new ones, and use that 7 years, maybe track it, and use that 7 years to start to build something new within ourselves. We're talking with Maria Martinez, and we're talking about her website as well. It's 360prosperity.com. Fascinating stuff. There was one area we did not get into at this point. I'd love to have you back to talk about actually a couple of these. Number one was energy alchemy and manifesting. One of manifesting is huge today. Everybody's trying to manifest, all kinds of stuff. I have no qualms with Elon be called the trillionaire. All right, and I'm not going to compete with him. All right, but I also know there's more than enough out there for all of
Absolutely.
us. And no two of us want the same thing. So I thank you for sharing, and I hope that you will come back.
Absolutely. Be my pleasure. My
We're
pleasure.
talking with Maria Martinez here on Tell Me Your Story. I am going to wrap things up here by thanking you for being a part of the work that we're doing here on Tell Me Your Story to try to make this a better place for everyone. And it is possible. Okay. That's where dreams come from, ladies and gentlemen. Dream big. What's the point of dreaming if you don't dream big? And Maria, I want to thank you for helping us to do that.
Thank you so much. And I just want to just kind of leave a message for everybody. You know, we've been talking about radical responsibility. We've been
Mm-hmm.
talking about being the creator of your life. We've been talking about making powerful choices. We have free will. So we want to move into embodying our free will. When we make choices and we take full responsibility, everything that was the story, everything that was the limitation, everything that was handed to us that was not what we chose, that all begins to fall away. When we're not taking responsibility is when we're living somebody else's life and we stay in that pain and suffering. And now where we are in this higher level of awareness, and we're also manifesting and creating because the life that we've lived so far, we've manifested it, we've created it by not choosing or choosing with some of that. The more we step into that freedom of who we are, the more we step into the power of our free will, of your creative ability, the more ideal our life begins to look, the more of what we desire begins to come in. So my message for everybody is one, recognize first how you've been creating your life. Move into that powerful creator. Recognize that you're not a victim to anything. That was a program. Move out of that program. Embody your power. And as you embody your power, make choices that are in the highest good for you and for everyone involved. And trust the choices that you're making. And especially when things feel difficult, trust yourself and trust the divine within you and trust the choice that you're making. Allow the fear to become the opportunity. Allow the uncertainty to be the enthusiasm of creation.
Mm.
Allow everything that in the past was a weakness or was what held you back, allow that to become your superpower.
Mm.
Create your life because it's in your hands, and we all have the ability to do that, and abundance, wealth, prosperity is our divine right. Thank you.
Well, I thank you for that closing message. I do have three final questions that I ask all of my guests, but I will ask those of you in just a moment. First, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube and Rumble. We hope that you will click subscribe and notification. We also hope that you'll go to Amazon.com, pick up a copy of my book, Choices 5 Steps for Life. It is available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And we also hope that if you can help us out financially, we would be gratefully appreciative. We use Zella as well as PayPal, and you use the same access, and that is my email address, richard@richarddugan.com. And I thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. And we also ask you to take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. Follow the promptings as well. And with all of that, we now move to our final three questions for our very special guest. And the first of those questions is, who is Maria Martinez?
Um, that's a mouthful, but let's see if I can shorten it. I am a human potential activator. I'm here to show everyone what's available to them in terms of accessing their potential, bringing themselves online, activating their gifts and their talents, and moving to the creation that already lives within themselves and design the life that they're meant to live. And I support in the area, so this is about having it all. I support in the areas of wealth, abundance, prosperity, business, health, vitality, and again, the Christic Codex within you, your divine blueprint. And personally, I am someone who uh, lives every moment, enjoys life, and love to be of service to others and love to see others succeed.
What gets you up in the morning?
That what I just described, the idea that everything is available to us, the idea that life is, it's so amazing, it's what you make it, and that we all have the power within us, and being that impact in the world, being that facilitator in the world, in the beautiful, powerful testimonies that come back with amazing results of people creating millions, manifesting millions, $1 million companies, relationships, body being healed. That and being a role model for my kids is what wakes me up in the morning, gets me up in the morning, living my mission.
And finally, what was your best day?
My best day. Oh gosh, there's so many of those. It's hard to pick one. Um, you know, spending time with my kids always brings me great joy. Seeing them succeed brings me great joy, and especially seeing them integrate the teachings at this young age. So the other area, so definitely that's one of them, and the other area is the success stories that I get. So that's why there's so many from people recognizing their power of creation and harnessing that ability for themselves and realizing the life that they want to live. So those moments when when I hear those stories, those are my best days. But if we really want to say what are the best days, every day is really a best day because you're here, we're here, I'm here, I'm living my mission, I am contributing, I am being of service to others, and that just brings me joy.
Well, we thank you for being a part of the work we're doing here, and we're
Thank you.
glad to support the work that you are doing. And we look forward to having you back again to talk more about these other areas
I would love
that
to.
we didn't get a chance to.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's my pleasure.
And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to law. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother, Mike, welcome to fatherhood, my friend. And to my dear friend, Zorro, aho, aho.